Labor Day morning. It's Monday, September the 6th, 1993. We've got down to the semifinals here in the ASA Modified Pitch Tournament here in Marietta, Georgia at the Al Bishop Sports Complex. And they're playing Finely Catering out of Springfield, Massachusetts. I'm sorry. Ball call. 2 balls and no strikes. John Smith is a local guy. He's Norcross, Georgia. And over at third base is Anthony Iacobello out of Boston, Massachusetts. So we're underway here. On the mound is Mike Walsh. He's taking signals from Mike Sundo. The catcher. Down at first base is Brian Mager. Second baseman is Glenn Bennett. Shortstop is Paul Kraske. And third baseman, Jeff Watkins. I'll finish the defensive lineup as that's a shot by Camacho. And he's out on a fine play by first baseman. I don't have a number 15 for Finley. I'll try to get updated there. I apologize. That was a good play by the first baseman. So it's 1 out, and that sends up Jim Shaughnessy, the right fielder. Ronnie Talent, the center fielder, is on deck. One ball and 2 strikes on Jim. The pitch from Walsh, high and away, 2 balls and 2 strikes. You can tell Mike Walsh is a nice guy. That was high and close to Jim, and he said, watch it on the pitch. Ball, full count, 3-2. He lost his bat there on the changeup. He reached out to stroke it. It's foul off on the first base sideline. Who's the first baseman, guys? Got you, thanks. Brian Mager is the first baseman. Great play by Brian on David Camacho. So full count here on Jim Shaughnessy. That's a shot up the middle. Let's start him off with a base hit. With 1 out here, we're in the top half of the first inning. C&W Tighe Club defeated Stafford Tire Company in this morning's first game at 9 o'clock by a score of 7-1. And on the opposing field, Finley was defeated by Kraft Tech, and I'm unable to tell you what the final score was there. The 10-6 was the final score as they was defeated by Kraft Tech, who is the undefeated team in this tournament this weekend. So these 2 teams play to see who meets Kraft Tech for the championship. And stepping in the box, Ronnie Talent fouls that back over the press box here. No balls and 1 strike. Tom Bennett, the first baseman, is on deck. Ball low. 1 ball and 1 strike. 2 balls and 1 strike. Spanky is the scorekeeper for C&W Tighe, and I'd like to thank him for giving me the scorecard for my lineup, along with Mr. Jay Tighe for all of the business. Again, Jay, we appreciate you. 5. Oh, no, it's an E. Third baseman Jeff Watkins fielded the ball, threw it down to second base to Glenn Bennett. They were unable to connect, so we got runners on the corners as Jim Shaughnessy advances to third. Ronnie Talent's at first on the E, and I got to give that to the second baseman. Looked like the ball was right over the bag. I might be wrong, and if I am, Jeff, I apologize, but I think that was a throwing error. So Tom Bennett steps in. He's followed by left fielder Kevin LeMay. Tom fills first base here for C&W Tighe Club again. We're foul ball is called. Mike Walsh is questioning plate umpire. John Clayton said the ball hit him while he was out of the box.
Ball was out in front of the plate.
Mike is asking John, could he ask for help? And John says, no, I know he was in the box, so the appeal is not made, and the count stands. So a good call by John Clayton, and he stuck to his guns. He knew what he saw, and he didn't need help. So Bennett's back in the box. Runners on the corner, that's outside. Maybe Johnny will give me a count here. 1 ball and 1 strike. That's a rope just past John Davenport. He's like, man, what are you trying to do here? Kevin LeMay stands on deck, and I'd like to take a moment to say thank you, Kevin, for all the nice comments you said about Precious Memories. We appreciate that. And I hope if that motivates you, that's fine with me. The throw down, not in time, as Ronnie Talent steals second base. So that puts runners at second and third now. 2 ducks on the pine with 1 out. Tom Bennett stands in with a 1-2 count on him, and Kevin LeMay is on deck. Jerry Courtney had some nice comments also, number 20, and I'd like to thank you too, Jerry. We appreciate all the support. Mike Walsh asked for the count as 2 balls and 2 strikes, 1 out. Top half of the first inning. That's a shot to the shortstop. He's coming home. Uh-oh. He's out at third base. So that was a fielder's choice. And Bennett reaches first. Shaughnessy's tagged out at third as he was hemmed up. That sends up Kevin LeMay to left fielder. He'll be followed by Peter Arminetti, the designated player, with Bob Feller, the catcher, in the hole. Sundo gives the signal to Walsh. It's a shot to the third baseman. Jeff Watkins steps on the bag for an unassisted out. So that's it. To no avail. Could C&W Tighe take the advantage of the 2 base runners. And after a half-complete innings of play, your score, C&W Tighe Company 0, Finely Catering Company coming to bat. On defense for C&W Tighe Club, on the mound is Don Meters. Catching is Bob Fowler. Over at first base is Tom Bennett. David Camacho's at second. And then at shortstop for the injured Chuck Prescott is John Calkesian. Third base is Craig Soares. Out and left is Kevin LeMay. Center field is Ron Talent. And over in right field is Jim Shaughnessy. I'm sorry, Jim. Jim Shaughnessy's in right field. And again, Peter Arminetti is the designated player for the C&W Tighe Club out of Wilmington, Massachusetts. And they're coached by John Davenport. Strike called. In the box now, Bob Gallagher, the right fielder. He pops it up to the center fielder, Ronnie Talent, and he's there for the first out of the inning. Ronnie, you might hear me call you Arminetti a couple times, as I'm used to saying that out there. But anyway, that is Ronnie Talent fielding center field. Again, Chuck Prescott pulled a hamstring in the game against Stafford Tower. He's an excellent ball player, but both offense and defense, and we certainly wish Chuck the very best. Don Meters get his signal from Fowler, low, ball 1. In the box is Paul Kraske. He's the shortstop, followed by Paul Shepard, the center fielder. High, 2 balls and no strikes. Dave Price is the coach at Finley Catering Company. His wife, Kathy, is the scorekeeper. Strike, 2 balls and 1 strike. Paul Kraske, I haven't seen him agree with a called strike in all of this tournament. We've covered him a couple of games, and he just don't like for a strike to be called on him. But unfortunately, Paul, that happens. That's a shot. Calkesian gets it 6-3 for the put out. So John Calkesian entering the game, or starting this game, instead of Chuck Prescott at the 6th position, handles that ball well for the 6-3 put out and the second out here in the bottom half of the first inning.
Here we go.
That gets by Fowler, and he retrieves it and gets it back to the mound. Meters there. So with 2 outs, Paul Shepard's in the box with Pat Murphy, the designated player, on deck. The shot to right field, coming in to make the catch is Jim Shaughnessy for the 3rd and final out. So after 1 complete, your score remains Finely Catering Company 0, C&W Tighe Club 0. Off the top half of the 2nd inning is Peter Arminetti. Peter is the DP this game. He's followed by catcher Bob Fowler. The first pitch from Walsh is outside for ball 1. This is another sports presentation brought to you by Precious Memories Video Productions. Great play by the second baseman, 4-3 for the putout as Glenn Bennett fields and throws across to Brian Mager for the first out here in the top half of the 2nd inning. That sends up Bob Fowler. He'll be followed by John Calkesian, the shortstop, with Craig Soares, the 3rd baseman, in the hole. Bob steps in, does a little grounds keep. He looks down to Coach John Davenport for his signal. Coaching first base is Randy Fisher, number 37. Strike called, right down the heart, no balls and 1 strike. Sundo gives the signal to Wash. The pitch, it's a shot, 3rd base, great play, 5-3, as Jeff Watkins fields and throws across to Brian Mager for the 2nd out of the inning. So 2 up and 2 down. That sends up John Calkesian, the shortstop. He'll be followed by Craig Soares, the 3rd baseman. John's got his work cut out for him. He's filling a big man's shoe. Again, Chuck Prescott's injured this game. He pulled a hamstring against Stafford Tire. And again, we'll wish him the best of luck. Ball low. 2 balls and no strikes and 2 outs here in the top half of the 2nd inning. This will be a thriller, I can assure you. Strike call, 2 balls and 1 strike. As this is also 2 excellent ball clubs in this major modified pitch tournament. ASA style here at the beautiful Al Bishop Sports Complex in Marietta, Georgia. Sundos get the signal to Walsh, the pitch. That's a tapper to second base for the 4-3 and the final out of the top of the 2nd inning. So after 1.5 complete, your score remains C&W Tighe 0, Finely Catering 0. Off the bottom half of the 2nd inning will be Pat Murphy as he gets his batter's box ready. He's the designated player. He'll be followed by left fielder Bob Kraske with Mike Sundo, the catcher, in the hole. Meter's got his signal. Strike called, no balls and 1 strike on Pat Murphy. Shot to Calkesian, 6-3 for the putout. So Calkesian can handle the position. I'd have found that out. I'm sure he wouldn't be in the dugout if he wasn't a good ball player, as this C&W Tighe Club has an excellent ball club. They're coached by a fine gentleman, John Davenport, and sponsored by a great man, Mr. Jay Tighe. We appreciate you, Jay. Strike called. Bob Kraske took the first pitch for a strike, and Brian Mager, the first baseman, awaits on deck. That's popped up to Ronnie Talent in center field. He's there for the catch and the 2nd out in the bottom half of the 2nd inning. So that sends up Mike Sundo, the catcher, followed by Brian Mager with Jeff Watkins, the 3rd baseman, in the hole. It's a beautiful morning. It's 11:10 a.m. on Labor Day, 1993, on Monday, September the 6th. Strike, outside corner, no balls and 1 strike. So Meters is pitching good. He and Mike Walsh. That's drilled just past Meters into center field, and Tyler to get it in quickly to Camacho. So Sundo gets a single, a 2-out single. Brian Mager, the first baseman, comes to the box. He's followed by Jeff Watkins with Glenn Bennett, the 2nd baseman, in the hole. That's the first hit off of Meters this game. First base runner for Finley. Strike called, outside corner. Meters is hitting the corners. Mike Sundo's at first base with a hit. Swing and a miss, 0-2. I kind of anticipate this being a low-scoring ball game. Two good pitchers and two defensive teams that play well. Outside, 1 ball and 2 strikes is your count. The pitch. It's a shot to the first baseman, and Tom Bennett handles it for the 3rd out. So after 2 complete, the score remains Finley 0, C&W Tighe Club 0. Ready? Starting it off in the top half of the 3rd inning will be 3rd baseman number 15, Craig Soares. He'll be followed by the leadoff man, 2nd baseman number 7, David Camacho, with Jim Shaughnessy, the right fielder, in the hole. Sundo puts his mask on. As he squats, he gives the signal to Mike Walsh. Walsh has got it. The windup, the pitch, change up outside, ball 1. Walsh has got the signal, the pitch, right down the heart. 1-1's your count. I'm Mickey Litzy. I'm the sports broadcaster for Precious Memories Video. I'm doing your play-by-play, and my cameraman today is Ralph Snowpeck. And that's a shot by Craig Soares to right field. In the last game, when Craig started off in the 3rd inning and he did that, it was Katie bar to door. It was C&W Tighe Club all the way in as they defeated Stafford Tire Company, the defending world champions, by a score of 7-1. And now time has been called on the mound, and everybody and his brother and some of the cousins have showed up there as the whole infield gets there. Dave Price is giving some kind of instructions. There's no way I can tell you what it is. I'm sure it's going to be how they want to play defensively.
Where we're going after the game.
The dugout says it's where they're going after the game. I think they said Dave was buying the beer.
Here we go. There we go now.
So David Camacho stands in with nobody out. He's followed by Jim Shaughnessy, the right fielder, with Ronnie Talent in the hole. He bunts, and no one does that better, and they won't get him. Yes, they did. The first base umpire, Jake Jacobs, out of Pasadena, Maryland, called him out. But I won't make a statement there, as it looked very close. But that is the first out. I'm not the only one that saw that differently, but I'll let them do all the bitching. And that sends up Jim Shaughnessy with Ryan Talent on deck. Moving down to second is Craig Soares, so he's in scoring position. No blood has been drawn here. We got double knots on the board, and we're here in the top half of the 3rd inning. Ball outside. I think that's 1-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. He reaches, he pops that foul down the right field line, and coming over and trying to make a great play was right fielder Bob Gallagher, but he just couldn't get there. Great try, Bob. So Jim's got new life. That's 1 ball and 2 strikes on him. Ronnie Talent stands on deck, waiting patiently. Jim Shaughnessy stands way up in the box. He's got 3 foot of box behind him, looks like. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Walsh has got the signal from Sundo. That's a shot to the 2nd baseman, and it gets by him. Craig Soares is going to try to score. We won't have a play here as he goes to second. So blood has been drawn here in the top half of the 3rd inning as Craig Soares comes around to score on the arrow by Glenn Bennett. So Shaughnessy reaches on an error off of Glenn Bennett's glove. That sends up Ronnie Talent to center fielder. He'll be followed by first baseman Tom Bennett. So with 1 out, 1 run in, and a runner on second, Ronnie Talent stands in. He reached last time on an error off the glove of Glenn Bennett. Strikes called, no balls and 1 strike. Walsh delivers inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Swing and a miss. That was a changeup. Ronnie was way out in front of it, but he had a powerful cut. If he had connected, I don't know what would have happened. So with 1 ball and 2 strikes and 1 out, It's a shot to the shortstop. Paul Kraske fields, throws across to Brian Mager for the 6-3 putout and the second out of this inning. And we're in the top half of the third. That sends up Tom Bennett, the first baseman, followed by left fielder Kevin LeMay. Excuse me. Sundo gets his equipment back on. As he squats, he's giving the signal. Walsh has got it. The pitch is perfect. Strike one. Standing down at second base is Jim Shaughnessy. Oh, they must have got the outside corner. No balls and 2 strikes on Tom Bennett. Bennett didn't agree with that. He didn't say anything. Tom's kind of a quiet person. He'll just stand in and take his cuts. And he does. He hits it off the end of the bat. Walsh fields 1-3 as he throws across to Brian Mager for the third and final out. But not before some damage was done. After 2.5 complete, C&W Tighe Club picks up 1 in the top half of the third, and they lead now by a score of 1-0 over Finely Catering Company. Bottom half of the third inning, starting it off with Finley, will be Jeff Watkins, the third baseman, followed by second baseman Glenn Bennett. In the hole will be leadoff man Bob Gallagher. They've only had 1 base runner in 2 innings. Mike Sundo got a hit with 2 outs in the bottom half of the second. So Jeff Watkins stands in. Meters has got his signal. Strike on the outside part of the plate. No balls and 1 strike. Dave Price shouting out instructions. Kathy Price is his scorekeep. Kathy, he said thank you and he appreciates the job well done all through the year and that he loves you. So with no balls and 1 strike, Jeff steps back into the box. Meters' delivery is high and away, ball 1. 1 ball and 1 strike.
This one's got to be perfect.
Meters got his signal, the pitch. He pops it up. Don Meters called it. And as any good first baseman would, Tom Bennett said, no, I got it. And Tom was there to make the catch for the first out of the inning. That sends up Glenn Bennett, the second baseman. Glenn's got a couple of errors thus far in the game, so let's see what he can do with his bat. Strike on the outside corner, strike 1. It's like I said earlier, when Meters gets a lead, he bears down, and he's got that 1-run lead, so it'll be interesting to see what he might be able to do. But Don Meters is a fine gentleman and a great pitcher. Strike. Swinging and a miss. No balls and 2 strikes on Glenn Bennett. Mike Walsh is the pitcher for Finley Catering. He was the first-team All-American in 1992. That's the shot. Right center field. It gets in the gap. They filled it. Ronnie Talent touched it. Couldn't quite come up with it. This shot off of him and went over to Jim Shaughnessy, and Jim gets it in, but not before Glenn Bennett reaches third base. So with 1 out, there's tying runs in scoring position, and I guess Glenn just redeemed himself with a double, and he went to third on the error in the outfield as Talent and Shaughnessy couldn't hem it up. So that sends up leadoff man Bob Gallagher, the right fielder. He flied out to center field. Ronnie Talent his first time up. And he'll be followed by Paul Kraske, the shortstop, number 6.
Let's go!
So we got a 1-1 score here in the bottom half of the third. Or I'm sorry, a 1-0 score, but the tying run is at third with only 1 out. And I'm sure Paul Kraske will be trying to connect and get that run in. Hopefully with a base hit, but he'll settle for a sacrifice, I'm sure, or maybe a fielder's choice, whatever it might be. We'll wait to see. Meters' pitch is down to Hart for strike 1. That's it to Jim Shaughnessy in right field. It's deep enough to get him in. And Glenn Bennett does score to tie the game here in the bottom half of the third inning. This game's moving rather well. We're 23 minutes into it. We're in the bottom half of the third inning with 2 outs. That sends up Paul Kraske to shortstop, followed by Paul Shepard, the center fielder. So with 2 outs, bottom half of the third, the score's tied 1-all, as Finley just tied C&W Tighe Club. Has popped up. Going back, John Calkesian, the shortstop. He's under it and makes the stab for the 3rd out. So after 3 complete, your score now, Finley Catering Company 1, C&W Tighe Club 1. The 4th inning, starting it off, will be the left fielder, Kevin LeMay. He'll be followed by designated player, Peter Arminetti.
Okay, so here we go.
Kevin's 0 for 1 so far. He ground out to the 3rd baseman, Jeff Watkins, his first time up. As Jeff stepped on 3rd for a fielder's choice, but he got a base shot then. The first pitch, he ropes it to left field. He rounds first, but he'll come back as the left fielder, Bob Kraske, gets it in quickly to Paul Kraske, his brother, there at shortstop. So Kevin LeMay starts it off here in the top half of the 4th with a single.
Big slow guy on first. Big slow.
John Davenport and Randy Fishers. Here's your coaches here for the C&W Tighe Club. John, of course, the manager, stands in at 3rd, and Randy Fisher is at first base.
Everybody else here, okay? Let's go.
Peter Arminetti stands in. He's the designated player. He grounded out to the 2nd baseman. Glenn Bennett, his first time up in the top half of the 2nd. That's a ball. High.
Here we go. That's it. Keep him.
1 ball and no strikes on Peter Arminetti. He'll be followed by catcher Bob Fowler. In the hole, John Calkesian, the shortstop. It's a bunt and a beauty. 3-4 for the put out, but he does his job. He gets LeMay to 2nd base on the fielder's choice. And that's 1 out.
That's where you make your money. Come on.
That sends up Bob Fowler. Bob's the catcher, and with 1 out, he's got the tie-breaking man at 2nd base in the form of Kevin LeMay as he stroked the first pitch to left field for a single. As Bob steps in, he's ready. Walsh takes the signal from Sundo to pitch. High, ball 1. John Calkesian, the shortstop, stands in on deck. Johns did a fine job there at that position in his ball game. On the corner, 1 ball and 1 strike. He pops it up, going back, Kraske, the shortstop. He's under it and makes the catch for the 2nd out. So Fowler couldn't produce. Arminetti's down there at 2nd base. Or I'm sorry, LeMay's down there at 2nd base. Peter Arminetti sacrificed and got in there. So that sends up John Calkesian. He's 0 for 1. He grounded out to Glenn Bennett his first time up. Craig Soares, the 3rd baseman, awaits on deck. He roped that one foul just in front of Coach John Davenport down there at 3rd base. 3rd base umpire Anthony Iacobello from Boston, Mass. will go out and check the ball as it come off the fence. He checked it, flipped it back to Paul, and he said, let's go with it.
Come on now, let's go. Come on, finish down here.
So it's no balls and 1 strike on John Calkesian. John told me that I was pronouncing his name just right. He would forgive me. And thank you, John. Ball outside. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Come on now, we
That's a shot just over the glove of the 3rd baseman, Jeff Watkins. LeMay scores. So that breaks the tie. It's 2-1 now here in the top half of the 4th as John Calkesian got an RBI and a base hit to left field. So he's 1 for 2, and that sends up Craig Soares. Craig started it off in the top half of the 3rd as he got a base hit to right field and come around to score the first run of the ball game. So let's see what Craig might be able to do here. Waiting on deck is David Camacho, the 2nd baseman. That was a great play by shortstop Paul Kraske. he went in foul territory and pulled that one in for the third and final out in the top half of the fourth inning, but not before C&W Tighe Club picks up one to take the lead. They have two, Finely Catering one. Starting off the top half of the fourth inning, as we look into dugout over here, third base side, we see Chuck Prescott. Chuck is the shortstop that pulled the hamstring, and again, we hope he's okay. Don's first pitch is foul down the first base side off the bat of Paul Shepard, as he's the leadoff batter here in the bottom half of the fourth inning for Finley Catering Company out of Springfield, Pennsylvania. So that's no balls and one strike on Paul Shepard, the center fielder. He's followed by Pat Murphy, the designated player. They're down a run as C&W Tighe picked up one in the top half of the fourth. It's 2-1. He drills it. Ronnie Tallis running toward right. He's there and makes the catch in center field, right center field. So that's the first out. That sends up number 17, Pat Murphy, the designated player. He'll be followed by Bob Kraske, the left fielder, number 24, with Mike Sundo, the catcher, in the hole.
Come on, get into it now, boys. Let's go.
Don Meters is on the mound. He's got his signal. The pitch, swing, and a miss. Strike one. Dave Price shouting out instructions as we see Jay Tighe, the owner of C&W Tighe Club, over there by the third base line. Swing and a miss on a changeup. No balls and 2 strikes. Pat Murphy was completely confused by that pitch. He was up on his front heel and looked unorthodox at that pitch. That's high. No balls and 1 strike.
1, 2, come on now.
It's a swing. Calkeesian's there. 6-3 for the put out. That's the second out of the inning as Calkeesian fields and throws across to Bennett for the second out of the inning, and that sends up Bob Kraske, the left fielder, followed by catcher Mike Sundo. Bob's a left-hander. He's 0 for 1 today. He flied out to Ronnie Talent in center field his first time up in the second. He watches that. He wanted it, and he saw it was low, and he held off. 1 ball and no strikes. Popped it up. Ronnie Talent is coming in. David Camacho goes back. And a great place by John Calkeesian as they collide. I hope Ronnie's okay. He's laying there, slow getting up. I think he's okay.
Hands to go, let's go. Come on, guys.
Might have got the wind knocked out of him. I see he's moving around. He's okay. Kevin LeMay is telling John Davenport to hold off. So with the injury, we'll take a brief station identification. This is another sports presentation brought to you by Precious Memories Video Production. Top half of the 5th inning for C&W Tighe. David Camacho. Ronnie Talent was okay. He had the wind knocked out of him. That was a great catch by John Calkeesian as they collided there in the bottom half of the 4th inning. Camacho bunts again, and he's hustling and not in time as the first baseman, Brian Mager, picks it up and throws it down to Glenn Bennett in time for the 3-4 put out. Camacho's 0 for 3. So be careful later on in the next couple of innings, because you're not going to hold him over, that's for sure. That sends up Jim Shaughnessy, the right fielder. He'll be followed by Ronnie Talent. And we might be going to have a pinch hitter as Chuck Prescott comes out on deck. That's drilled to right field. Going back on the play, right fielder Bob Gallagher, and he's there for the catch in the second out of this inning in the top half of the 5th. I thought Prescott might have been coming out of the dugout to pinch hit, but he wasn't. He's just leaving the park. Maybe having to go rest as he did mess up his hamstring. No, he's going out. He's going to take a couple of warm-up swings. They might be going to pinch hit Chuck. He's an excellent batter, that's for sure. And in the box now, Ronnie Talent. We're glad to see he's okay after the collision. He steps in and hits a rope in the gap. He rounds first. Second. He's going to third, and they're going to send him. There'll be a play at the plate, and it is that time. Ronnie Talent tried to stretch a triple into a home run. I don't know if Davenport sent him or not, but at any rate, he tried to reach. He did not. We're just glad he's okay, and that was the third out. So after 4.5 complete innings of play, your score remains C&W Tighe Club 2, Finely Catering Company 1. Starting off the bottom half of the 5th inning will be Mike Sundo, the catcher, who put the tag down on Ronnie Talent, who tried to stretch a triple into a home run, and he was right there to tag him out. Mike is 1 for 1 today. He got a single his first time up in the bottom half of the 2nd. The pitch from Meters. Strike. I think that's 1 ball and 1 strike. On Sundo, the catcher. He's followed by Brian Mager, the first baseman. That's on the outside part of the plate. Sundo didn't agree with it, but it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Pops it up. It's shallow. David Camacho comes over, makes the call and the catch for the first out of the inning. So with 1 out, that sends up Brian Mager. He'll be followed by Jeff Watkins, the third baseman, with Glenn Bennett, the second baseman, in the hole. Don Meters has got his signal. The pitch outside, ball 1 on Brian Mager.
Come on, big guy, you're the man in that game.
That's a shot. 6-3 for the put out as Cal Keegan controls it and throws it over to Bennett for the put out.
Let's do it, let's go.
So Cal Keegan's holding his own there. I'm sure Chuck's glad to see that. Chuck was concerned, not about John's abilities. He was just wanting to play ball, but he said there was no way that his leg would allow him to play defense. So Meters is on the mound. In the box is Jeff Watkins, the third baseman, with Glenn Bennett, the second baseman, on deck. 1 ball and 1 strike on Jeff Watkins. Strike 2's called on the changeup. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Don't take the bat out of his hands.
Watkins disagrees with the call. Bennett hollering, don't take the bat out of his hand here on the on-deck position.
Let's go, Jeff.
Plate umpire John Clayton is calling the balls and strikes here behind the plate. John's out of Centerville, Maryland. Strike 3 called for the K. That's the first strikeout thrown by Meters. And after 5 complete innings of play, the score remains C&W Tighe Club 2, Finley Catering 1. Starting off the top half of the 6th inning, we got a change. Number 20, Jerry Courtney, will come in. He's batting for Tom Bennett, the first baseman. And he gets his rope to center field to start things off here in the top half of the 6th for the C&W Tighe Club. Throw back to first, but Jerry reached safely as he took it, taking a wide turn there. That sends up Kevin LeMay, the left fielder, number 22. He'll be followed by the designated player, Peter Arminetti. Kevin LeMay is 1 for 2 today. He come in and scored in the top half of the 4th. John Davenport shouting out something to Jerry Courtney over there at first base. So as Kevin steps into the box, Mike Walsh looks at Sundo, gets the signal, the pitch. Outside on the pitch out, ball 1. I think Walsh thought Davenport might have been telling him to go on the first pitch, Jerry Courtney, as he's got some wheels. No balls and 1 strikes. Walsh checking his defense. He turns around, gets the signal from John Sundo. Inside, ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes. Strike called, 2 balls and 1 strike on the outside part of the plate. It's a bunt. He lays it down beautifully. He does advance the runner as Jerry Courtney goes to second. And that was a 3-4 put out for the first out on the sacrifice. So that sets up Peter Arminetti, the designated player. He's followed by catcher Bob Fowler with shortstop John Calkesian in the hole. So C&W Tighe is planning to get a run here. They know this is going to be a low-scoring ball game. We're in the top half of the sixth. It's 2-1. They're in favor. And they just sacrificed off the bat of Kevin LeMay a bunt to get Jerry Courtney down to second base. First baseman Brian Mager made a great play and threw it down to Glenn Bennett for the 3-4. And now they're getting together on the mound to decide what they want to do here with a runner in scoring position and only one out. Peter Arminetti's in the box. He's 1 for 2 today as he sacrificed in the bottom of the or top of the fourth to get Kevin LeMay down to second, who eventually come in and scored. So let's see what happens here. Let's see what Peter does. Ball outside. Walsh has got his signal. The pitch. It's a shot to the first baseman and a great play by Brian Mager. Brian kind of stopped that ball with his foot. It bounced up. He wanted to go to third, and he looked over there, but Jerry Courtney was flying and had already got there by the time he fielded that ball, basically. So that sends up Bob Fowler, the catcher. He'll be followed by John Calkesian, the shortstop, waiting on deck. Runners in scoring position at third base. Bob Walsh and Sundo's saying something here. I got no idea what. Ball player talk, I guess, not broadcasters. So the pitch. It's a shot. Foul down the third baseline. Almost got umpire Anthony Icovello down there. So the count on Fowler's 0-1. We're in the top half of the sixth in a 2-1 ball game. 5-3 for the putout as Jeff Watkins fields and throws over to his first baseman, Brian Mager. So to no avail, they couldn't get the run in, and after 5.5 complete, the score remains C&W Tighe Club 2, Finely Catering Company 1. After the sixth inning, we got a change or two on both sides of the field. Joe Henderson's went in to play third for Craig Soares for C&W Tighe. And for Finley, Matt Ferry, number 29, comes in for Glenn Bennett, the second baseman. And he'll start things off here in the bottom of the sixth. His teammates are down by 1. And Bob Gallagher, the right fielder, awaits on deck. Pitch from Meters, a strike on the attempted bunt, strike 1. Dave Price shouting out instructions. Third base coach. Like I say, when Meters gets a lead, he's bear down. Right now, he's throwing some good pitches. Ball high, 1 ball and 1 strike. Joe Henderson, the third baseman, who entered the game for Craig Soares, was right there on top of the plate, expecting to bunt. Ball outside, 2 balls and 1 strike. John Clayton sweeps off the plate here. Time's been called as Fowler wants to go talk to Meters.
Matt, it's gotta be perfect now. It's gotta be perfect. Wait ahead, Matt. Come on, you jump base.
Jerry Courtney remains in the game at first base for Tom Bennett. He's playing defense now.
Come on, Matty. Come on, Matt. Let's go. Come on, Matt. Come on, now.
So Matt stands back in with a 2-1 count. He attempts to bunt and is fouled, 2-2. And that hits off the leg of Bob Fowler. I'm sure that hurts. From what I've noticed all weekend, I think Bob Fowler might be the only catcher that I've seen without shin guards. And that one come off his shin, but he's okay. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Matt Ferry. Ball outside, that fills it up. So let's see what Meters does. Swing and a miss on ball 4. I'm sure Matt Ferry wishes he had that pitch back. And he knew it. He's aggravated that himself. That's the second K for Don Meters. That sends up Bob Gallagher to right fielder, followed by shortstop Paul Kraske, with Paul Shepard, the center fielder, in the hole. The pitch from Don Meters. It's a bunt, attempted foul. Courtney picks it up. No balls and one strike on Bob Gallagher. We're in the bottom half of the sixth inning, and C&W Tighe leads by a score of 2-1 over Finely Catering. Strike on the outside corner. No balls and two strikes. Inside, 1-2, I'm sorry. Don Meters wanted that one. Don Meters wanted that when he thought he had the corner, but it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. That's a shot. 6-3 for the put out as Calkeesian fields and throws across to Courtney for the second out of the inning. So just as we anticipated, this is a very low-scoring game. It's 2-1. Bottom half of the sixth, and there's 2 outs with Paul Kraske, the shortstop, in the box. Paul Shepard's on deck, the center fielder, with Pat Murphy, the designated player, in the hole. Paul's 0 for 2. Ball high. 1-1. That was right down to heart for Meters. Outside, 2 balls and 1 strike. Craptech put both of these teams in the losers bracket. They put C&W Tighe in there yesterday evening, and this morning they put Finely Catering in the losers bracket, as Finley was the other undefeated team coming into the final day in this major modified pitch softball tournament. Strike call, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, I'm sorry, 3 balls and 2 strikes. I'm way behind. Calkeesian's there on the line drive for the third and final out. So we come to the top half of the seventh. The score, C&W Tighe Club 2, Finley Catering Company 1. Top half of the seventh inning, we got Glenn Bennett re-entering the game for Finley Catering, as Matt Ferrier went in to bat for him in the bottom half of the sixth. Glenn goes back to field, second base. And starting it off in the top half of the seventh inning will be John Calkeesian, the shortstop. He hits to the shortstop on the 6-3 putout, as Paul Kraske fields and throws across to Brian Mager for the first out here in the top half of the seventh inning. So I'm sure Finley's thinking that if they can hold them here, they can at least get 1 to tie in the bottom of the seventh and maybe 2 to win. So it's going to be interesting as Joe Hendrickson, who entered the game for Craig Soares at third base, stands in. He didn't mean to, but he did swing as plate umpire John Clayton checks with Jake Jacobs down at first base. So strike 1. Change up outside, 1-1. Walsh gets the signal from Mike Sando, the catcher. The pitch, high and away, 2 balls and 1 strike. So the excuse me swing got the count 3-1 now. As that one's outside. Hendrickson could be on first base, but he couldn't hold up his bat. Inside, ball 4. So let's see if that might hurt. Anytime you walk a man, especially in a 2-1 game, it could hurt you. I'm sure Mike Walsh knows that. David Camacho, the second baseman, is 0 for 3 today. And like I say, you're not going to hold this gentleman over, so it might get interesting here as he goes down to third baseline to talk to Coach John Davenport. The meeting at the mounds broke up. Everyone goes to their respected position. Davenport releases Camacho. He's in the box. David stands way up in the box, so it'll be interesting to see what he might do here. He's attempted bunting 3 times, and all 3 times they've caught him. He shows bunt there and pulls back. Strike 1's called. David saying something to umpire John Clayton. John's telling him to get back in the box and let's play ball. So with 1 strike, 1 man on and 1 out. He hits it to left field, going over to make a great catch is left fielder Bob Kraske. He gets it into his brother Paul Kraske to hold the runner there, Joe Hendrickson at first base. Great play, John. That was a beauty. If he hadn't have caught that, it could have been trouble. I mean, Bob, I didn't mean to call you John, Bob. Bob Kraske made a great catch there off the bat of David Camacho. That sends up Jim Shinaski, the right fielder. He'll be followed by Ronnie Talent, the center fielder. Ball inside. It's 2 outs. Runner on first. 2-1 score. C&W Tighe is leading at the present. We're in the top half of the 7th inning. Outside, 2 balls and no strikes. The pitch from Walsh. Strike, 2 balls and 1 strike on the changeup. Walsh has got his signal. Outside, ball 3. 3 balls and 1 strike as Ronnie Talent waits on deck with Jerry Courtney in the hole, and a swing and a miss, 3-2. That was a great throw down by Sundo there. They almost caught Joe, but he dove back in under the tag, says first base umpire Jake Jacobs out of Pasadena, Maryland. So the pitch from Walsh. It's a shot in between second and first. It'll go into right field. That'll have runners on the corners. As Bob Gallagher gets it in quickly, Joe Henderson advances to third. Over at first is Jim Shaughnessy. I'm sorry, Jim. I'm having that problem again. That sends up Ronnie Talent, the center fielder. He'll be followed by Jerry Courtney on deck. Jerry went in to play defense for Tom Bennett in the 5th inning. So Mike Walsh gets his signal from Mike Sundo, his catcher. The pitch, right down the heart for strike 1. No balls and 1 strike. Walsh is getting his signal, the wind, the pitch, change up, ball 1. 1-1. So Ronnie Talent knows he's got a couple of ducks on the pond. He needs a base hit here, as they're only leading by 1, and we're in the top half of the 7th inning with 2 outs. The pitch is low, 2 balls and 1 strike. Walsh is an excellent pitcher. Again, he was first-team All-American last year in 1992. And I also think that his catcher, Mike Sundo, was also a first-team All-American. They work well together. Oh, and that's drilled. That's going to be trouble on his horse, the center fielder. And it's out of here. A home run by Ronnie Talent. Ronnie got third out at home plate a while ago as he tried to stretch a triple into a home run. And this time there's no play made as that was drilled deep to center field, and that picks up 3 runs here in the top half of the 7th inning for the C&W Tighe Club. They'll go up by a score of 5-1 over Finely Catering. That was drilled. Ronnie got all of that changeup. Walsh threw that changeup in there, and Ronnie Talent drilled it for a home run. So that sends up Jerry Courtney, the first baseman. He'll be followed by left fielder Kevin LeMay. Strike called. That's a shot down the third base line. The third baseman's hollering foul, and I'm sure he knows he touched the ball because I heard it. And in at second base is Jerry Courtney. Kevin LeMay steps in. Center fielder Paul Shepard was on his horse on Ronnie Talent's home run. He thought he could catch up to it, but he ran out of space as he got to the wall there in center field. Coach Dave Price calls timeout. The only one he wants to talk to is his pitcher and catcher as he tells Brian Mager to stay at third base. First base. Thanks for the change. This is an exciting ball game. I don't know what the home run will do to Finley Catering, but they do have an excellent ball club, so don't count them out yet. Dave Price is talking to Mike Walsh and Mike Sundo. And he's got his pitcher and catcher together, and he's walking back to the dugout. Kevin LeMay stands in with Jerry Courtney on second base with a double down the third base line. And Peter Arminetti is in on deck awaiting his turn at bat. First pitch to Kevin's low and away, ball one. That's a shot to the shortstop. He's there to field for the third and final out as Paul Kraske. But not before C&W Tighe picks up 3 runs off the bat of Ronnie Talent as he drilled a home run to center field. And the score now reads C&W Tighe 5, Finely Catering 1. Bottom half of the 7th inning. Starting it off will be Paul Shepard, the center fielder. They're down by 4 as Ronnie Talent hit a 3-run home run. There in the top half of the 7th, Johnny Clayton stepped out of the box. He wasn't ready, so that was no pitch from Meters. Now we're ready, he says. Play ball, Meters pitch. Shepard hits it deep to right field. Going over to make the play is right fielder Jim Shaughnessy. And Jim, I got you right that time. So that's 1 out. They're down to the final 2 outs. Pat Murphy, the designated player, steps in the box. Dave Price is shouting out instructions. This has been an excellent played ball game. It was very close until Talent's home run picked up 3 runs in the top half of the 7th. Strike right down the heart. Like I say, Don Meters is tough now. He'll tell him to hit it if you want to. I'm sure that Pat Murphy would like to have that swing back. He was way out in front of the pitch. No balls and 2 strikes. Outside 2-1, or 1-2, I'm sorry. Standing on decks, number 24, Bob Kraske, the left fielder, who made a beautiful catch earlier in the game. That's a base hit down the line, third baseline.
3 outs in the inning, man. 3 outs in the inning.
Pat Murphy drilled it to left field for a single. We got a change. Number 23, Tommy Helms, will go in and run. Thank you. 23, Tommy Helms goes in for number 17, Pat Murphy, to run. Plate umpire Johnny Clayton, I thank you for that update. So Tom Helms is in the game to run. Bob Kraske is in the box to hit with Mike Sundo, the catcher, on deck. Bobby's 0 for 2 today. He disagrees with that strike. It was on the outside part of the plate. So with Tommy Helms at first base, Bob Kraske calls time to get his feet planted. He reaches and pops it up to Jerry Courtney. Foul on the first base side, and he's there for the out. So they're down to their final out here. Mike Sundo steps into the box. He's followed by Brian Meager, the first baseman, on deck. The pitch from Meters, right down the pike, 0-1. Meters to send here, man, hit it. My defense has got you. It's drilled to right, coming in to make a fabulous catch. While diving is Jim Shaughnessy, the right fielder, for the third and final out, and that's the old ball game. C&W Tighe has defeated Finely Catering Company out of Springfield, Pennsylvania, an excellent ball club. They were undefeated coming into today. Kraft Tech put them here, as C&W Tighe has put them out of the tournament, as they have defeated them here by a final score of 5-1. This has been another sports presentation brought to you by Precious Memories Video Production. I'm Mickey Lipsy, bringing you the play-by-play as we see the players shaking hands, congratulating each other. It was a very close game until Ronnie Talent hit a 3-run shot there in the top half of the 7th inning. He had teammates Jim Shaughnessy and Joe Hendrickson was on base when he hit that shot to center field to pick up the 3 runs. My cameraman today has been Ralph Snowpeck, and we appreciate this opportunity. And we'll await the awards presentations as they'll bring the trophies out to present to Finely Catering Company. We'll take a brief station identification.